And good evening, everyone, and welcome to the East Brunswick Township Council meeting for July 10th, 2023. Will everyone please rise as we salute the flag with the Pledge of Allegiance and remain standing for a moment of personal reflection in honor and respect for our neighbors in South River. Pledge allegiance.
United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Township Clerk, will you please call roll and read our statement of adequate notice?
Councilmember Hall?
Here.
Councilman Wendell?
Here.
Councilwoman Winston?
Here.
Councilwoman Zembicki?
Here.
And Council President McAvoy.
Here.
Also present, Mayor Brad Cohen,
Here.
Administrator Joseph Criscuolo,
Here.
and Township Attorney Michael Baker.
Here.
Adequate.
I beg your pardon.
We're live.
Township Clerk.
Adequate notice of this meeting has been provided as required under Chapter 231, Public Law 1975, by specifying the time, date, location, and to the extent known, the agenda, by posting a copy on the bulletin board located in the main lobby of the East Brunswick Municipal Building, providing a copy to the Home News Tribune and Sentinel newspapers, posting a copy on the Township's website, and by filing a copy in the office of the Township Clerk, which will be entered into the minutes.
May I have a motion for resolution number 23-207, adopting our meeting minutes from June 26, 2023?
Motion adopted.
Second.
Second.
For any discussion or clarification on these minutes from council? Seeing none. Township Clerk.
Councilmember Hall?
Yes.
Councilman Wendell?
Yes.
Councilwoman Winston?
Yes.
Councilwoman Zembicki?
Yes.
And Council President McAvoy?
Yes.
Thank you.
To begin our meeting, I'm going to call to the microphone Mr. Wayne Lyons to fill us in on the annual VFW Post 133 5K walk-run benefit. Mr. Lyons?
Thank you. Yes, our VFW 5K race is up and ready to go. We're going to start the 23rd. It's in 2 weeks. The race starts at the Art Center, starts at 9 o'clock. We'd like to invite everyone to come on out and join us this time. People in East Brunswick, and you got to remember, it's not only a race, it's a walk. So if you don't feel like the run, come on out and walk with us. Also, Tommy would like me to thank the township. Like me to thank you, Mayor, for your contribution. Thank the Parks and Recreation for all their help. Hope I didn't forget anybody. And I'm sure the council, because I know Jimmy's been supporting it, and Mac, you've been supporting the heck out of it too. So we really appreciate that. But there are applications available if you want to stop by the VFW. It's located at 45 Cranberry Road. Right behind the Radiology Center, so you can stop in there anytime you want and pick up an application. Other than that, and you can register online also under CompuScore.com. So,
Very good.
questions?
Yeah, Mr.
It's a good day.
When is the, getting back to registration, I know my wife and I were talking the difference between registering early or registering on time versus registering at the 11th hour. So what's the time frame on when everybody should have their money in?
You can register the day of the race also.
Okay.
You can run it all the way up to the day of the race. So if you're worried about the weather or something and you know, that's bothering you, so come to the day of the race. We start at 7:30 in the morning. The race starts at 9, so you can register anytime. We have a shirt pickup on Friday and Saturday night, and you're more than happy to come and register that night. You'll know the weather ahead of time. We do have some refreshments afterwards. We have some music, and we go to about 12 o'clock on Sunday, and after that we close it up. So it's really a good morning. So
It's a great event.
it seems to be it, yeah.
Mr. Lyons, you want to leave the poster with us
Sure.
so that we'll find
I would love-
a location for it in the foyer
Okay.
of the building.
I would love to. All right. Thank you again. Thank you.
Welcome.
Thanks, Wayne.
At this time, I'd like to begin the meeting with a series of presentations regarding our mayor's plan for the ice rink. So I'm going to switch over and send the direction of the meeting to our mayor, Mayor Cohn.
Thank you, Council President. And as I get started, I just want to remind folks that one of our jobs as council members and as mayor is to try to provide for the public a stable tax base, to try to keep taxes stable, and at the same time provide programs that everybody can enjoy, even though we all know that each enjoy different things. And one of the purposes of redevelopment was to actually look at properties that were in disrepair, weren't providing the type of tax base that we need, and were clearly areas that had fallen into blight and were a stain on the township, and turn those around so that we could increase the pie to be able to provide those two basic features. And that basically takes us to taxes and providing services and programs and facilities to the residents. Tonight, we are going to talk about our first attempt at trying to bring back something to the community that is a public service, and from the advent and from the money coming out of redevelopment. And that is the story of how we got to this point tonight on the ice rink. We started the whole redevelopment process by going out to the public several years ago, asking them that if we had money coming in from pilot payments from these projects, what type of things would they like us to provide? And in no specific order, the things were very clear. They wanted a community center with a pool. They wanted an expansion of the community arts center and the ice rink. And you know, we can't get, I think over time with redevelopment and as we start to see more come on board, we can get all of them. And obviously everybody has a preference, but sometimes an opportunity presents itself which makes it easier to go with one of those three options over the other. And that's what happened when we entered into negotiations with Garden Homes for what to do with the property behind Dixon Coles, which is located at 110 Tices. And we negotiated that parcel in a way that provided, among many other things to the township, road repairs and stormwater issues, connectivity, light repairs, and obviously a removal of any of their tax appeals. They also deeded back to the township about a third of that entire piece of property, amounting to about 8 acres of land, along with them paying for all of the site improvements for whatever community project we would put on that site. The estimated value of that alone is closer to about the $10 million range. Township Council back last year looked at what could be done with that space, and we had approved DMR, our planner and engineer, to help put together a plan for an ice rink on that property. It clearly would not have been able to fit a community center with a pool, and we already have an art center, so that made the most sense on that piece of property. And so we approved the ability for them to go out, put a site plan together, engineering plans, along with bid documents. In anticipation of a ice arena, and after many years of sustained effort and input from hockey parents in and around East Brunswick for the first time last year fielded a hockey team for the high school, which competed. Didn't have the greatest season, but it was a start. And then from that point, we started coordinated work between DMR, the ICE specialist that had spoken to us at the first time they presented here, our planning and engineering department, parks and recreation, and we actually put together a ice rink committee of people in town who either have been hockey players, work in the industry, kids in the playing hockey, skaters that are into ice skating, not necessarily figure skating, not necessarily hockey. And those people came together and worked as a group to come up with a plan that's being presented to you tonight. One of the first questions that they had to answer was, ultimately, the land had the ability to have 2 rinks. Do we do 1 rink at a time, or do we do both rinks at once? When it was presented to the council last year, it was under the idea that we would build 1 rink, and when it became profitable, we would use that money to build a second rink. But the committee looked at that very clearly. They worked with experts. They spoke to a lot of different people, those who have run public-owned ice rinks in the area, and they came to the conclusion that, all things being equal, it made more sense to do 2 rinks at once, and there's multiple reasons for that. One, the overall cost of doing 2 rinks at once will be lower than if you did them in installments. Secondly, the second rink, if you're going to do one, would have to be placed behind where the first rink is, and looking at the property, there's absolutely no access from behind the property. So in order for them to build a second rink, big construction material will be driving over all the site work that we've just had the developer pay for, all of the water, sewer lines, all of the parking lots, sidewalks, and fixing that would then come at the township's expense, and that's something that we didn't think was wise. In addition, the third thing was that the ability to show profitability in the rinks is predicated on the facility having outside users besides just those of us that live in East Brunswick, much like the pool. Much of the profit that comes out of the pool utility comes from those that live outside the township. And so we felt that 1 rink would be primarily used by those of us that live here, which is fair, we're paying for it, but that in order to make it profitable, you need 2 rinks so that you can use the second rink for outside tournaments, outside teams coming in and using it. And then finally, when you look at just raw numbers, the expenses for 2 rinks aren't necessarily double the expense of 1, but the profitability is significantly higher. So the ability to get to a profitable place comes much quicker if you build 2 at once. After the plans were put together, it was put in front of the planning board about a month ago, and then the final plans are what are here tonight in front of you and will be presented and discussed this evening. The discussion tonight will take place between a presentation from DMR, from Keith Kipp, our Director of Planning and Engineering, from Mike Reisner, our Director of Parks and Recreation, and Angel Albanese, our CFO. Total project cost is approximately $53 million. You could deduct from the $53 million the $10 million that is the site improvements and the cost of the land. And then last year, as many of you know, the township received $3 million grant from the state of New Jersey, bringing the bond in front of you this evening for a request for $40 million. It is hoped that as you go out and have that go out through the bidding process, that there'll be multiple bids, and that hopefully at the end, with competing bids, we might get the project for less than the 40, but you can't go out and do a public bidding process unless you have the funding in place for what we estimate the costs to be. That $40 million includes all of the rinks. It includes the furniture and fixtures inside, along with all of the financing costs. As we know, we will take the lowest responsible bidder. That's the state requirement, but the funding needs to be made available by your approval for a bid to go out to begin with. Based on our estimates of the pilot money that has come into the township so far, that's if no new effort was made at the redevelopment, which we know is continuing, but just from what we have coming in today, 50% of that money would cover the ongoing costs of the life of the loan or bond that would cover this. The other 50% would continue to go to tax stabilization. And as residents should know, they can go to their bills over the last 6 years. Taxes, municipal portion of tax bills, the only port of the tax that we have any control over, has remained under 1% over the last 7 years. So our intention is to continue a process that gives back to the community, and this is our first big effort at giving back something to the community, while we've already shown that the work of redevelopment has kept taxes stable. I think we could do both. And over time, as we have more pilot money come in, we look forward to being able to introduce a community center and an expansion of the community arts center in a way that still allows us to keep property taxes stable from the municipal standpoint. So I'm going to turn it over to DMR and let you move forward with your portion.
Thank you very much, Mayor. Good evening, Council. My name is Kurt Verheilig, and I'm partner and director of design with DMR Architects. And let's see, Keith is bringing up the plan. I was integrally involved in working with your team and our consultants to develop the ice rink project that we're presenting here this evening. So what we have here is this is the first floor plan. And just as a little bit of orientation to how the building is situated, on the left of the image is Route 1. Tice's Lane would be on the bottom, and that is also facing north. There's a wooded area on the top and to the right, and then there'll be parking lot on the right side and on the bottom. Keith has a site plan which he'll share with you a little bit later for any additional site information. So the main entrance to the building is off of one of the parking lots. As you can see here, it's on the right side, and the general circulation is identified in blue, and this is kind of what we call the warm area of the building. And the cold area, therefore, would be the ice rink area. So the front of house area is where the support spaces are for the facility. So we have the main entrance and lobby here, which is appropriately sized for access and queuing for people that are coming in. Most of that queuing will be on days of open skate days. So the space is large enough to accommodate the queuing lines and stanchions to support that circulation. And then the rest of the space is also appropriate for when there are tournaments and larger activities and events that are happening. There's adequate space for people to gather and congregate and wait. So as we come into the building, the lobby here we have on the right would be our support and our information area where you can rent skates. That position is located such that you can have good visibility to all the public spaces. So down and to the left, this purple area here is a raised platform, and that's elevated viewing and seating and spectator area in the warm space. There'll be full glass wall there that views out to Rink 1, which is the main rink with seating for approximately 400 people. As you look up to the right, we have an area here which is changing area for changing and putting on skates and whatnot, and there's a seating area in this location, and that gives access to Rink 2, which is the public skate rink. In addition to that, we've got a party room which can be rented out, and it also has an operable partition which can be closed up to make smaller spaces for other program and activities that may happen in the facility. As we go down past the viewing and the elevated viewing and spectator area, we have a multi-purpose space, so that's nearly 1,000 square foot multi-purpose space with a very high ceiling. And again, that space can be multi-use and programmed. It can be used when there's tournaments. It can be used for programming for the facility itself when they have events or programs that they will be offering. There is a full concession stand, and that concession stand will be the purpose of that to service and support the patrons on a regular basis. Also, again, since tournaments will be something that is a big draw and is important to the facility, that they have the kitchen and preparation facilities be able to support that kind of activity. The salmon areas, you can see interspersed here are some of the support offices and for the management and operators of the facility. And so rink 1, as I mentioned, is the main rink, 400 seating capacity. Rink 2 on the top, about 200 seating capacity. The rinks are full-size regulation ice rink, so there's, this is going to meet all regulations necessary for playing competitive hockey events. And then back in the middle here, in this tan area, we have the locker rooms, spaces for the operation and the players and the team. So we've got 8 team locker rooms located here. We've got 2 girls' locker rooms here, and then we have at the end, we have 2 team rooms, which could be dedicated, as determined. I think at this point, not really sure exactly how they'll be assigned, but those will be for the teams that will be called this ice rink as their home base. And then each one of those has a complement of bathrooms and showers to support those functions of the locker room. And then the back of house on the far left, all these gray spaces are just support spaces for the Zamboni, for refrigeration, for mechanical, electrical, and all HVAC systems necessary for the functionality of the facility. And then there's also, in addition to support of the locker rooms and the function and play, there's 2 smaller locker rooms on the outskirts, which are the referee locker rooms. So the building is a 2-story building, and as you come into the lobby, you see kind of central to that core area of the lobby, there's a stair and an elevator. That will take up to the 2nd floor, and Keith, if you could. So the 2nd floor is the portion of the building, since the hockey rink, the height requires a significant height for clearance and proper play. The middle portion of the building is over the locker room spaces. So we've utilized those spaces for 2nd floor area with full access, elevator access, and vertical circulation. And basically the blue areas along here are additional viewing areas. So from higher up on the 2nd floor, the games can also be viewed from those locations. And then in the middle area here is additional support spaces, could be storage spaces, could be potential rental space to outside user that may have some sort of connection with the functionality of the hockey rink. But at this point, it's approximately 3,500 square feet, which is a flexible space that can be programmed later. We have accommodated for plumbing needs and whatnot if it is going to become an office or that type of space. So that in the future, we can leverage that and utilize it to its potential.
Are any of those walls around that flexible space, are they structural?
These, well, they're all permanent because this is going to actually be conditioned in there, since the rink is going to be kept at a standard
I was just wondering
temperature.
if there were structural walls and could be
These
moved or
they're not load bearing.
okay. Okay.
However, these in the middle are those rectangles are where there's columns, and then there's also HVAC.
Sure, understood.
goes down
But
there.
the perimeter of that is not a load-bearing partition, so should that need to be moved or something else to accommodate a different use in the future, even if you wanted to put additional gallery seating up there
right.
or something, that could be easily
Correct.
accommodated?
Not
Great.
bearing.
Thank you.
Okay, you want to switch to the rent? Is there any questions on the plans before I switch to the exterior renderings?
I have one other question, if you don't mind, Council President.
Yes.
The concession space, is that designed with all the fixtures and all of that in the specs and will be part of the contract to be completely fit out as a working kitchen
Yes.
with a hood?
Yes.
And all of that?
Yes, it's not shown here, but it is in the plans fully detailed.
Okay.
Our consultant
I just want
has.
to make sure we've got the Ansel system and the hood and all of that as part of the the docks so that we're not coming back and trying to
It's all in
fit
there.
out a kitchen at a later date.
Yes, it's all in
Thank
there. Okay,
The
so
diagram again, Mr. Kip.
So then to that point, we also have a grease trap?
it's required for a kitchen.
Okay.
When using your pointer, direct me to the primary location, which would be the management's office.
Okay. So on a regular basis, there'll be a person sitting at the reception here. And so that's a staff member. We have 3 management offices located in this area. And then we have one, this is the skate instructor's office, who is in charge of the programming for the skate lessons and other activities in terms of that. And that's why we placed that in this vicinity, because that person will be, that's the closest access to that.
So the question still remains, is that big enough?
Yes. Yes, we've, in close, working very closely with our ice rink consultants, who they own rinks, they build rinks, they operate rinks. We worked very closely with them to determine what the necessary amount of space is, not, overly estimating for, build it and they will come, but what's necessary to operate a facility of this size. So we have incorporated what is necessary for this facility.
Do the same thing with your pointer and show me the let's call it the Red Cross area, the emergency area. There's a game going on, and it's between 2 Cub Scout packs, and one kid doesn't know what he's doing, and he runs over another kid, and there's blood running profusely all over the rink, and they drag the kids somewhere. Where are they dragging them?
So they would take them into this space here. So there's a first aid room, and in addition, there is also, I believe, there's also someone on hand if there's a competition to be able to take care of people if there is an injury. There's procedures and protocols for the rink for when they're practicing, when there's games. Obviously, a game is more competitive atmosphere. I believe that they will have someone on hand to be able to handle that.
So again, based
the
on
case.
your research, you're happy with that size?
Yes,
Okay.
because there's not a full-time first aid person. on the
Right there,
building.
but there's a staff of 30, probably, in and around, covering from
Yeah.
the man
they'll
who's
call Mike.
driving a Zamboni, and that's not Mr. Baker, but they're picking up the garbage, making sure the ice is
Yeah,
at the right
this
temperature.
building will have, really, it's maybe five or six people. It's really not, the operation of it is not a very staff-intensive facility.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's not.
Not 30.
No,
It's-
no.
It's 5, 7, 9
No.
people.
Yeah, it's not, to operate is not a heavy personnel.
Okay. Do you, in your professional opinion, recognize this as a premier version of a 2-sheet ice rink? Or is this is very common, Mr. Councilman?
No, this,
Is the Cadillac version?
the design of the facility is state-of-the-art. It's not, we don't believe that it's excessive in providing spaces and amenity that aren't necessary to the operation. So the biggest and most important thing, as the mayor had indicated, is that the 2 sheets gives the facility the biggest potential to be able to be profitable in a shorter amount of time. 1 sheet, for example, the equipment to cool the space and ice is nearly the same, the cost to do that, as it is with 1 sheet or 2 sheets. So when the mayor had mentioned about the cost differential between adding another sheet, all that, the equipment and the investment in the infrastructure of that is pretty much the same, whether it's one or two. So, but to answer your question about the premier nature, it is from what we've seen, we believe this is going to be the premier facility in the area.
Right, this is, that's what we're hoping for.
Yes.
My research has taken me down that road.
We believe that,
we are going to
but
be
we
the
don't
premier
believe it's
Middlesex County.
Cadillac with, we don't believe it's Cadillac with unnecessary bells and whistles. We believe has everything it needs, and it's going to be done with long-term longevity and quality.
And
as the
therefore,
basis.
is there enough seating for a premier event that comes
So
our way?
we believe that the seating is more than adequate, being that the tournaments are when you get the most amount of participation. So in addition to just the regular fixed seating, which you see in orange, we do have that second floor mezzanine also that will allow you to have additional capacity should that be necessary.
And from the architectural position, does the sheet and the rink last forever? Or does this get wear and tear like a turf football field, and after 15 years, we have to redo the whole thing?
No, you will not have to redo the ice. I mean, the ice or the boards with the prop. Obviously, getting and utilizing, specifying the proper equipment. We believe we specified the equipment that is going to last and have a longevity to it. And like I mentioned about the Cadillac, like we've used and specified the equipment that is long-term and that's going to last. And the majority of keeping the facility up and running is the efficiency of the refrigeration system, because that refrigeration system cools the ice and also cools the space.
Thank you, Mr. Verheilig.
Council President.
You're welcome.
Please.
Just to add a couple of things. From my experience with working with these facilities, the concrete and the refrigeration lines and all of that do not gain any wear and tear because you're skating on top of a surface that's above the concrete. So as such, you're not seeing wear and tear on those surfaces. Yes, the boards and the glass and all of that, they're going to take some wear and tear and need to be replaced specifically. You know, not all of it, but that one or this one. But outside of that, I just wanted to add that from my experience, Council President. But outside of that, do you have a potential list of value engineering items that you're kind of tracking on this facility should the bids come in higher than we imagine or expect? And I would assume if you do have that, most of that is an exterior cladding issue then more than anything else.
So there's the exterior is one of the options for some of the materials, the metal panel or the cement board panels. So the exterior, there are a few items there. For the interior, it really comes down to,
Programming.
to finishes.
Yeah.
There's some of the finishes which, the flooring, like we've picked the rubber flooring, that's a durable rubber flooring
Right.
that's gonna hold up and last to the use of
Yeah, I mean, you
the
don't have,
skates.
you don't have to call them all out for me. I
yeah,
just want
but for an
to, I just
example
want to
like
know
that's-
that you had
We have
some
a few.
things that you're tracking that,
We do have some
Option
items
for,
that are
you know.
on a list to be incorporated for that purpose.
okay. That's all I want to know. I want to know, we're not designed to the bare minimum,
No.
nor do I want and I've seen the elevations before, nor do I want a split-face block on the outside or anything of that nature. I want this to look good. I want it to be a premier event, nor do I want it to be a pole barn.
Right.
So, people who sat in those seats out there in the past with some of our things liked pole barns, and it's not anybody that's sitting there right now, but Keith, you know who you know what I'm talking about.
And I plan to value engineer for sure. When the bids come in, I will look at everything.
Of course.
For purpose.
Thank you.
Okay?
Mayor?
And we'll, yeah, okay. Here we've prepared a couple renderings. This particular rendering is looking from the north towards the south. This is where the approach and entry into the parking lot, where the roundabout will be. So as you can see, we've got the building here on the right side is the main entrance. On the left side would be the taller volume space where the ice sheets are at, and then in the foreground we have that multi-purpose space element here. So we've really worked to take the building because of the scale and the size and break that down into some different interesting massings. It's a big volume, it's a big building, so we feel that we've successfully accomplished that by the use of some of the different materials. And so I'll start with, we started with this metal panel white frame element. So that kind of wraps up and over, kind of frames in the building, the large volume of the building. Then kind of captured within that, you'll see these gray area, which these are cement board panels. And so we're just using a standard panel size. We've introduced 3 colors to kind of take that larger facade and break it down into something have a little more scale and kind of commonality. Incorporated onto that large facade, we've incorporated some logo, we've incorporated the name of the facility, and we've done that in a couple other spaces. We're incorporating some wood look panel. Again, these are cement board panels as a cladding, and that kind of bring a little warmth to contrast, all the whites and gray palette and hues. In the kind of the foreground here, this corner element, this is a standing seam metal panel utilized vertically on the wall, and then kind of that captures this cow wall translucent panel here. So in an ice rink, we would like to have natural light, but there's a few things. You want to maintain the temperature, and you want to avoid direct sunlight and glare onto the sheet. So here we're taking the opportunity to incorporate natural light kind of from this area, and this corresponds with that raised viewing platform. So here we'll be able to have the opportunity to bring some natural light into the space. In addition, there are a few areas where we incorporated skylights. Could you just go back real quick to the plan? So we've incorporated a couple areas with a similar cow wall skylight. Okay, and that. Okay, yeah, so this is the viewing area. In this area, we've incorporated one here, and we've also in this seating area here. So because of the depth of the building, because it's the orientation of the sheets, we took that opportunity, thought these would be good ways to bring some natural light deep into the core. Since natural light is always a good thing to have and to make a space that's habitable more enjoyable. Okay. So I just wanted to point that out. And we're using, that's the same, it's the cow wall translucent panel as a skylight. And then the entrance, so we've identified here, we've got the entrance, which is, very easy and distinct for the users and patrons to identify. And again, we're using the same kind of framed wrapping of the standing seam metal panel, and then we have a canopy extending out, and then we have glass wall in there that kind of extends into the lobby. So if you want to go to the next one, we've got so the next view is going to be as you're approaching from Route 1. Again,
18.
Route 18.
Route 18, I'm sorry. Route 18. So this, the Lowe's is on the left here, and essentially this is the view kind of coming down, again, using different material palette and breaking up the scale. of the main volume of the building. In the back here is service access to give access to where the equipment rooms are and the Zambonis and all the mechanical spaces. And then the materiality is the same. We use a metal panel, wood look cement panel, and then the multicolor.
What's the facade material on the rear?
What's on the roof?
What's on the rear?
Oh, back here.
Yeah,
So
what is
this,
all-
so, right, so this area, we carved away like a portion of that, and we're using the same cement board panel, and then it has the signage on that also. So that's the space in between the Lowe's and the other retail building that's in there, so.
No,
kind
it's
of-
not like CMU and stuff.
No.
Okay.
It's this cement board, so
Yeah, okay,
the
cool.
cement board is more economical
Yeah.
of the materials on that facade. So we tried to take advantage of that and use that as much as possible. Okay, go to the next one. So here's the main lobby entrance. So as you can see here, we've got this focal point element. So as we were looking at the space and designing, what kind of speaks a little bit to the ice rink. We came up with this idea of this ice cube concept. So these are cow wall colored translucent panels, which we're just using to clad the stair and cover where the elevator are for the building. So that we took what was a functional element and we turned it into what we see as a kind of a focal point and feature element of the lobby. So the ice cube element is it'll be illuminated. It will have that kind of very soft bluish hue to it, and some of the cow wall panels are really nice. Does a nice job of kind of giving a little bit of texture to that. Flanking that on the sides, on the right is the rental area, so that's where kind of all the patrons will come in on the right, and then people will leave on the left and in the center. So the sets of doors are organized, entrance to the right, exit to the left. You see the two rinks, so on the right and the back there, we've got the seating area and changing area for when there's public skate, so it's very intuitive, rink 1, rink 2. In addition to that, on the left side of the entrance, we're going to have two TV screens, which will project and show, events that are happening, games, when there's games, which rink, what time, where they're going to be, or other just programs that are happening at the arena. And then to the left here, you can see we have that raised platform. We've got the full glass wall that views out to the main rink, and then just around the corner there is the concession area. All right, you can go to the next, Keith. And then here we've got a view from the second floor viewing area. And now this is looking back towards the warm space and towards the elevated spectator viewing. So you've got, the focal point of the main rink. On the opposite side, you have the spectator bleachers. On the top here, additional additional standing room for viewing. And then underneath is the locker room spaces. And then I think the last one is just the rendering, which just, if there's any other questions.
Great job.
Thank you very much.
Next up is Keith. Yes?
Yes, I'm Keith Kipp, Director of Planning and Engineering. Thank you for having me here. Kurt, excellent job. Thank you very much. I had to do this whole presentation by myself, so with Kurt, big help. Mayor, you took a lot of the weight off me too, so mine should be pretty straightforward. I'm going to discuss the site plan. I got it. I was going to use my mouse. That's why I'm sitting down. That's my excuse. So again, what you just saw, this is the new Renee Road that'll be coming down. North is up in this drawing, which is kind of opposite of Kurt's architectural drawings. Lowe's parking lot is over here, and the fitness center to the right of the screen. And the 110 Titus Legacy Development will all be on the north side of this roundabout, which is currently being constructed. The site plan was designed by our staff. Our in-house staff did all the everything except for the storm sewer, which we had CME designed to be current with stormwater management regulations. And for the stormwater, there's 2 underground systems. System to the south is strictly for roof runoff because there's no vehicle runoff that adds to that. And then there's a system underneath this parking lot that is for all the vehicle runoff or parking lot runoff. And so the flow to the site is, if you would come off of Titus Lane, which is to the north, and the intersection with Renee Road, you'd come down and be perpendicular to our site. You could enter into the roundabout, and this is one way. The drop-off area for buses is in front of the front doors, which is in this area. And then what we plan to do is with buses is have a lease agreement with Lowe's, so that if we have a big tournament and there's a lot of buses, the buses could park there while all the rest of the guests and the competitors can park in the parking lot. We do have LED lighting throughout. The Legacy Place, Garden Homes is the developer. Again, as the mayor mentioned, they are doing approximately $1.5 million worth of site improvements. So they'll do all the curbs, all the lighting, all the utilities coming in, gas, electric, water mains, sanitary sewers. That's all that they're doing. Obviously, the topography of the land made it so that we have to put some retaining walls just to make sure everything is level. So they'll be installing those retaining walls and all the utilities that go with that.
What about the storm?
The storm sewer?
Yeah,
The storm sewer is included.
okay. You didn't say storm, I just wanted to confirm that.
Oh, I'm sorry, yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, both underground systems are already in.
Okay, great.
And they're working on the rest of the parking lot surface drainage
Thanks,
currently.
Keith.
So they're moving along well with that site. And again, like I said, our staff did this design, and CME did the storm sewer design. And other than that, any questions on the flow of the site? Basically, like I said, you come in off the roundabout, you can go either back out the roundabout and head either way, back towards Titus Lane or to Route 18, or you could come in and out through this side as well, which is adjacent to Lowe's. Any questions on any of that? All right, that's my presentation. Next up is Mike Reisner, Director of Parks and Recreation.
Good evening, folks. I have no slide, so I'll stand up. So our staff has visited several rinks, or many rinks throughout the state, not only to get design ideas and how the facilities are laid out, but also to talk about programming and how the facilities are ultimately used. As Mayor Cohen had also mentioned, he had formed the East Brunswick Ice Arena Committee, which is made up of people with various backgrounds who have brought a ton of good information to this project. Their backgrounds range from figure skating to ice hockey, to architects, to engineers, and people who have been in this industry. So their input has been very valuable in terms of creating this design, but also talking about how the building will eventually be utilized. Youth, adult hockey, women's hockey is becoming very popular. Tournaments was very important to the group. As Mayor Cohen mentioned, our own East Brunswick High School now has a team, which we anticipate would use the facility as their home base. Figure skating, learn to skate programs, learn to play hockey programs. We've also, as many of you know on council, have a very well-run program for adults and children with special needs called the Daisy Recreation Program. And we anticipate that therapeutic rec programs will be part of this facility, even go so far as to participating in Special Olympic programs. Public skating is very popular in the surrounding rinks that we spoke to. Birthday parties. There's 2 rooms currently dedicated towards that activity as well. The second floor and mezzanine levels kind of to be determined, but we anticipate that'll be offering to a lot of other community potential recreational programs, meeting space. So there is a lot of possibility in that second floor area, as well as providing a really good viewing area, viewing space for the popular tournaments and games that are held there. The multi-purpose room also could be a potential fitness area for the community, and also some other smaller recreational activities. In particular, we would anticipate that our very successful and large day camp program this summer would visit the facility as well. Another local trip for our kids in town. Various hockey camps, learn to skate camps, figure skating camps. We're very popular in a lot of the rinks that we visited around the state as well. We've been personally contacted by a lot of the youth hockey organizations in New Jersey, coaches, local programs, showing interest in the facility from the beginning of this project, the work on this project, showing a lot of interest in using the facility and partnering and coming to use the space as well in cooperation with, if and when this facility is built. So there has been certainly a buzz about this particular building.
Please.
Mike, you mentioned our very successful day camp program that your department runs, which you currently go skating, take those kids skating for the day camp at other facilities that we pay for.
Correct.
Which at this point, we would either pay the facility or pay, to offset the costs of this facility at a cheaper rate rather than paying some commercial, retail-run establishment, correct?
Correct, and it would be more efficient to with transportation being
Sure.
costly as it is right now, it'd be more efficient to stay in town for sure. Yeah.
Just wanted to confirm that, guys.
Councilman Waddell, my research showed that anywhere, and Mike, you can attest to this or discredit me on this, anywhere from 15 to 20% of total revenue comes from summer campers.
Of the facilities that I visited in the summer, they were quite busy.
Yes,
There were a lot of camps going on at multiple times. Most of the facilities I visited were 2 sheets, if not 3.
Right.
So, contrary to what I expected during the summer months in a cold facility, they were quite busy, yes.
Right. That's good news. Mayor? Oh, Dana?
Yep, just a quick question. So I know we spoke about this and it was clarified again that much smaller amount of staff will be needed for this as compared to something like Crystal Springs where we have a huge amount of staff. We are going to be doing we're going to try to do the whole thing with East Brunswick employees. Is that the plan that we're going with?
That's the direction I believe we are headed, yes.
So to employ, people, give them opportunity as much as possible, right?
Yes.
Okay. That's all I have for that right now. Yep.
Good. Thank you, Mr. Reiser.
Thank you, folks. Appreciate it.
And I guess it's up to you, Angel, to close it out.
Thank you, Mayor. My name is Angel Albanese. I'm the Director of Finance and the Chief Financial Officer. Good evening, Mr. President, members of council. I'm going to cover 2 areas, the operational results we anticipate and also the financing. So let me summarize the results of the pro forma financial analysis of the ice rink operations first. As Kirk had mentioned, and also Mike, we've talked to many experts in the field who've been involved in operations of ice skating rinks throughout the country, and in particular in the Northeast. Our focus, in addition to that, was primarily on the demand and the actual operations and experiences of the New Jersey municipal and county facilities, in particular the Woodbridge rinks and Old Bridge ice rinks. Taking these sources of revenue into consideration and the cost of operations, we anticipate the estimated net revenue exclusive of cost to finance the facility to be approximately $500,000 to $750,000 per year for the first 2 to 3 years, as we begin to grow the leagues and gain contracts with various ice hockey organizations, growing to about $1 million per year. To fund the construction, we initially will be borrowing notes. As was mentioned, we have a $3 million grant from the Department of Community Affairs from the state of New Jersey, which is incorporated in the bond, and we will be reimbursed for those costs. So initially, we're going to borrow notes. Once the project has been completed, we would seek to secure permanent financing or continue to fund through notes, and could possibly work the notes looking for different opportunities to finance the project over a longer period by selling bonds. And this will really be dependent, the timing of that would be dependent upon the interest rates as the time comes, once construction's completed. And that concludes my discussion. I don't know if anyone has any comments, questions?
I got one question, if you don't mind. Please. What's your original anticipated annual cost for the bonds or notes? I mean, at the 40 million or so that were 43 million.
That will be dependent upon the interest rates. Right
What's
now,
your pro forma showing at this point?
well, we're looking mostly at the rates per se, but right now, the interest rates are 3.7, and for us, in a favorable position, because
Right.
most towns are at 5%.
Right.
So our estimate right now is that, we have to really see what's going to happen over the next few years, because there's a 50% likelihood that interest rates will be lower than they are right now.
Sure.
So,
Okay. And to the mayor's point earlier, most of that can be handled through the anticipated pilot funds, or at least 50% of the anticipated pilot funds, at least for the first couple of years, until we
Yes.
start gaining revenue.
right, we wouldn't,
I mean, at the end of the day, we expect this to be self-liquidating, just as our pool is, and all of that, and our pool has been very successful over the years, and that's my anticipation.
I would say definitely for the operations, for the
Yes.
construction, it's an investment, definitely. For the first 3 years, even if we borrow temporary financing, we don't have to pay any of that down initially. So we have some time to really work out what is the best position and opportunity for us.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Okay? Thank you.
I think that pretty much covers all the areas that we were concerned about, and it touches, it gave an opportunity to follow up on the type of presentation we got when we brought DMR to start the project. So now, I think it's a great day for us to be at a point where we could finally give back to the community something really tangible, besides the property tax stabilization we've been able to provide, because this was the purpose of redevelopment from the beginning. So I thank you, Council President.
Welcome, Mayor. Any final comments on the presentations?
I'm excited.
Extremely. Extremely. Because I'm coming from a place where, because all of us on the dais, constantly talking with the community. And it was rec department, rec center, pool, and then ice hockey. But then as the conversations began and the conversations extended, just won over for a host of reasons that will come out of my mouth spanning the next series of meetings to make sure this passes in the correct way.
One quick
Mr.
thing
Wendell?
for Keith, I guess, or Kurt, or even the mayor. We currently have plans and specs and bid documents. That's what we're talking about here tonight. So the expectation is to go out to bid, 6 to 8 weeks in the bidder's hands or so before bids need to be returned, and then award something by mid to late September,
Exactly, I think that's our.
you know.
It's going to be a little bit longer than that. The bid document or the printout right here that Keith has in front of him, that's the size of the bid document. It's about this
Yeah.
thick. Remember, we got first reading tonight, or the public hearing on the next agenda for this. You got advertisement requirement for the bond and a 20-day estoppel period in which that for the bond.
So we can't-
So Keith cannot advertise until after the estoppel period
Oh.
is over. At that point, he can advertise. I just caution you with a project of this size, you may want to leave it sit out a little bit longer, and I'd look to DMR and our ICE experts. I know when I was doing the community center in Piscataway, we let it sit out a little bit longer because there's a lot of disciplines, as you can see in the presentation, and it is a rather lengthy plan to go through, and it is highly specified work.
I wouldn't
So-
go any more than 8 weeks. 8 weeks, it gets stale.
Okay.
That,
So
You know.
just to give you a time frame, we got to wait till the estoppel
no,
period is over.
I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
So what we're looking at ideally is a groundbreaking in the spring. We're not going to get
No.
on the ground before the end of the
I think you
year.
could do groundbreaking before the end of the year.
You think so?
Yeah, most definitely.
Yeah?
Yeah, and also for the bid, I just want to point out that Garden Homes is actively working on the site. And the more work we have done, the better it is for a bidder to come and see that, yes,
Exactly.
there is a building pad that's prepared.
Yeah, I'm not concerned about that. You got a detailed set of documents there. It's a real deal. They know what's coming. They know it's real. I see if you're not going out until potentially September 1st at 8 weeks, you're not getting bids and awarding bids until November. I don't think you're breaking ground until the spring.
It's possible, but I think if we
I
have a
mean, listen,
winter
I
like we
would, I
had
would,
last
I
year.
would love to be aggressive,
Yeah.
but what I'm getting at is, we don't know what the winter's gonna bring. I mean, yes, we can put foundations in December, but do we wanna spend extra money for potential, thawing of the ground or digging through frost or whatever? I want the public to understand that, getting in before the end of the year, I think is an aggressive pace, which I would love to stay on. But I think you probably are looking at a springtime groundbreaking,
Just depends.
I think it depends on the weather and the
Sure.
contractor. If we have
course.
someone that fits in
How
the
quickly can
schedule,
that contractor mobilize after we give the award?
I have Councilwoman Winston on Zoom. Councilwoman?
Yes, on audio.
Yes.
Excuse me. Thank you, Council President. I may have missed it, so I apologize because it's just audio here. But if you're thinking about creating a profit center, specifically with the kitchen, just urging the committee members who may be present to think about making sure there's a pizza oven in there, so that if you are hosting kids' parties, even if the kitchen's rented out to a third-party vendor, they have the capacity to do that.
I highly recommend that as well. And a fryer for chicken fingers and french fries. That's the biggest sellers in Woodbridge.
Yeah, there's definitely a grill and a fryer. Mike and I'll look into the pizza oven.
Thank you, Councilwoman.
Thank you.
Okay, we're good? Good on the questions? Let's move on to Township Clerk. Could you please read ordinance 23-20?
An ordinance of the Township of East Brunswick, County of Middlesex, State of New Jersey, amending Chapter 209, Section 65, entitled Schedule 26, Mid-Block Crossings of the Code of the Township of East Brunswick to add a mid-block crosswalk designation on Fern Road.
May I have a motion
So moved.
and a second? Second. Let's open this to the public, and anyone from the public wishing to speak on issue 23-20. I'm going to close the public portion. Council, any discussion? Which we have. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Hall?
Yes.
Councilman Wendell?
Yes.
Councilwoman Winston,
Yes.
Councilwoman Zambicki,
Yes.
and Council President McAvoy.
Yes, Township Clerk, please read ordinance 23-21.
An ordinance of the Township of East Brunswick, County of Middlesex, State of New Jersey, amending Chapter 209, Section 44, entitled Schedule 5, Time Limit Parking of the Code of the Township of East Brunswick, to enforce time limit parking on certain sections of Willow Street.
You may have a motion
Motion to adopt.
and second.
Second.
I'm going to open this up to the public, and anyone from the public wishing to speak on ordinance 23-21, the floor is yours. Seeing none, I'm going to close the public portion. And roll call, please.
Councilman Bahal?
Yes.
Councilman Wendell?
Yes.
Councilwoman Winston?
Yes.
Councilwoman Zambicki?
Yes.
And Council President McAvoy.
Yes. Let's move on to our public hearing and our mayor's report. Mayor Cohen?
Thank you, Council President. I just wanted to follow up. I know most residents received estimated tax bills for the year 2023, and that's the third quarter payment. The reason that you got estimated tax bills is because we can't actually send out the full tax bill until the county tax board strikes the tax rate, which is the rates that give us all the information that you would need to provide a tax bill. The township's tax rate, the tax rate for the public schools, the tax rate for the county itself, the fire districts. Until we get that from the county, we are unable to give you a final bill. So our role is to make sure that we collect third quarter taxes because we're statutorily required to do that. And so we're given as an opportunity to charge anywhere between 95 and 105% of last year's rate as an estimate. We chose this year to be conservative and chose a 2% increase. Looks to me right now that there's a good possibility that the final increase will be less than that, which means that your fourth quarter payment will be lower than what you would have expected to make up for the overcharge essentially from the third quarter. We have to do that again because the county didn't give us the actual tax rate. You will get that probably sometime in the end of the summer, most likely August, and that will give you, or September. That's our requirement is to get it to you by September so that you have more than enough time for your November fourth quarter bill. But last year, as you may recall, we did the opposite. We thought the taxes were going to be relatively flat, so your August tax bill was relatively flat, and then when we realized that the $5 million increase came in from the public schools, that had to be shouldered all in the fourth quarter, which is why the fourth quarter payment looked higher. So, when we looked higher, it was higher. And so this year we wanted to be a little bit more conservative. But I expect if our information from the county is correct, that that the final number should come in a little lower than the 2% we put through, so your fourth quarter will be adjusted. Just wanted people to know that.
Mayor, did you want to comment on your video productions?
So I did, in anticipation of, thank you, of the tax bills coming out, and put together a 4-part series on property taxes. The first one is actually already out on EBTV, and I think the TAP picked it up, explaining how to read the tax bill. The second of the series of 4 will talk about how the township utilizes the 20% of that total tax bill, which is all the town gets to work with. Bulk, as you know, goes to the schools and about 15% to the county. But we only get 20%. So the second part talks about how we make those decisions and utilize that 20%. The third part of the series talks about the history of property taxes in New Jersey and how we got to this point. And then finally, the last of the 4, once you understand all of that, really gives us a bird's eye view into having a good reason and ability to explain why taxes in New Jersey compared to many other states is generally higher. And there are significant reasons for it and ways in which we can talk about how to reduce it, which is beyond the ability of any of us at this dais to be able to do. But I think that the series takes you through that in a way that makes that easy to understand. So hope you all watch it, and I thank you for the opportunity to mention that.
Right, the episode 1 infomercial, as we call them in my household, because we just pay attention to what's going on in town. It was brilliant because it breaks it down into a very simple understanding of the tax structure that can be very complicated for the so-called, I'm not demeaning anyone, average resident. And then infomercial 2, which is going to show the difference between the Board of Education tax and our tax, is going to open up a lot of eyes. Mr. Criscuolo?
Yes, just a few items. First of all, I'd like to thank Mike Reiser and his staff for a wonderful 4th of July celebration, and naturally our members of our public safety crew, our police officers that made us feel safe there without a hitch, getting everybody in and out of the venue safely in a timely manner. So hats off to Michael and the police officers for facilitating that, and the traffic safety unit there that evening, and cleaning up the site. It looks good as new. But as always, Michael, job well done, much appreciated. A lot of good comments from the residents. And years ago, we'd get the complaints about people not being able to get out of there fast enough. So I think we kind of set their expectation. It may take you an hour to get out. I guess it was culminated by the double-decker bus that pulled in with 75 people from a neighboring community, how well our event is actually run and takes place. So definitely hats off to the council, as always, for their support of events like this. I think everybody had a great time. Despite the 3.1 inches of rain we received at 1:52, if I remember your text, Mike, and just thanks to everybody involved. It was a great day. It was a great event, and it was much appreciated by the residents and the administration of the township. So both to public safety, the fire departments, everybody involved, Robert Wood Rescue Squad, just a big thank you from us here. Thank you.
Our attorney, Mr. Baker?
No report this evening, Council President.
Okay. Our township clerk?
No report today.
Anything from any committee or board reports from council?
Just quick.
Councilwoman Zambicki?
So this fall, we expect to have our Legacy Place open up for residency. There'll be 67 out of 104 new affordable units that will be ready to go, but you must apply and be put on a waiting list by August 23rd. You can do that online through www.affordableHomesNewJersey.com or by calling 609-664-2769 extension 5, and they can take your information and get you set up for this. But there will be, looking at that, 14 of those units for 67 will be 1 bedroom, 42 2 bedrooms, and 11 for 3 bedrooms. And the affordable housing ranges starting at $621 up to $1,974, depending where you are income-wise. So it's a great opportunity for people to take advantage of brand-new space with, say it again?
When they register,
It's a lottery. It's a lottery,
Pick from
right.
the 1,000 or so people that apply.
Great opportunity to get in a brand-new facility with lots of amenities there. So please take advantage of it.
Councilwoman Zambicki, is there a timeline for when everything has to be in?
August 23rd.
August? So
23rd.
like a month plus to get everything done. Thank you. Township Clerk, would you please read our public comment statement?
Sorry, I just wrote over it, and it's online.
The public comment portion of our meeting is to allow the public to bring to the council's attention their concerns or comments. In accordance with NJSA 10:4-12A and the East Brunswick Rules of Council, the council asks the public to limit their comments to 5 minutes or less. At the conclusion of the statements or questions from a member of the public, the council president, at his discretion, may choose to respond not respond, or asks the administration to respond.
Is there anyone wishing to address the chair? Please. Just state your name, spell it, and your address. Thank you.
Troy Bailey, Troy Bailey, 16 Glencourt, East Brunswick. First of all, I just want to thank the mayor and the great staff for the presentation today, and the council president and the town council for having it in a public venue. I'm very appreciative that we got to see more about it. I believe it was about almost a year ago when it was last discussed in public, so it was great to have you guys back. I just had a few questions related to the ice hockey rink. For the pilot payments, from my belief, we collected about $2 million last year in pilot payments, so 50% would be about $1 million. At what point would we expect the revenue to cover the financing cost, just not the operating cost of the facility? Then relating to just the general plans for the building, I wasn't sure if there was a dedicated space for floor covering. I believe last time we discussed potentially some type of hardwood that could be laid over the ice to have events on top of it. I'm not sure if that is still in the works or something possible, but I didn't see really any dedicated space for that, so I was wondering if that was included. Additionally, I didn't really see any kind of setup for any type of AV or like live streaming, recording, kind of a spot maybe for EBTV or potentially a cameraman to kind of sit there. Probably there would be room somewhere on the second floor for that. But I believe that would be a great addition, kind of combining kind of similar features with the football field where you can have the video and then have it broadcast on EBTV later on. Additionally, for the second floor, I was wondering if there would be potential like a pressure issue with kind of how there's the two rinks and then there's the one building or the one room in between it. I'm not sure if there would be any type of issues like sometimes in certain facilities where if you go into a certain area, you go to open the door, it's because the pressure pushing on the door. So I'm not sure if that would be an issue with it. And then lastly, kind of just an overall question for the actual facility itself within the site plan, is there any type of underground heating system or are there any plans in the works to try and alleviate the potential issue of ice buildup underneath the rink and potential heaving of the concrete floors?
You can stay right there. Angel, do you have a quick comment on operating costs?
As I mentioned, As I mentioned, once we ramp up the operation, we expect to have a profit of $1 million per year, excluding of the financing costs. That will vary based on the interest rates, and we will go for long-term financing to finance over a longer period to fund the entire project. So it will be profitable. That's the net profit after the revenue minus the expenses, including the 6 people, et cetera. Okay?
Thank you. Mr. Kipp, floor covering?
Yeah, I don't think I need a mic, Anthony.
No, we don't.
No, what we decided to go with, Troy, is if we aren't using one of the arenas, we can drain the ice and you have a concrete slab that we could either introduce a carpet over or use the concrete and just utilize the floor of concrete.
As for EBTV, I don't think we saw on the location a place for TV, but that's something that can be adjusted.
There is an IT room, and we are planning on extensive video. Obviously, if there's a game and there's interest, we want to be able to.
Great, because that can turn into a moneymaker as well. It can.
We're also actually looking at working with other rinks and maybe having as one of the features of being able to provide tournaments, the ability to hook up with other local rinks so that those could be through cameras that connect the games that are going on in one rink with the people that are in another one. So it helps make and market the area in a way that not a lot of other rinks could do right now.
Thank you, Mayor. Second, Mr. Kipp, once again, second floor pressure issue?
I don't think, that's worked out through our HVAC techs to make sure that there isn't any negative pressure. But it is definitely, second floor is controlled.
Right, and underground heating?
I don't think our ice experts do design ice. That's exactly what they do, and I don't think there's any concern with any frost heat coming from below. And the controls for the ice, it's insulated from the slab, so it's a whole special design for that for ice.
Really?
That's it.
Good.
Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to address the chair, please? Sir? Please state your name, sir, spell it, and give us your address.
James York, Y-O-R-K, 9 Gates Avenue, East Brunswick. I addressed the council at the last meeting, and there were a couple things I'd like to follow up on because I tried to make it as short as possible. It's concerning the St. Mary's Stevens Church, which is located now on Gates Avenue, right across the street from me. The issues we're confronted with, I spoke a little bit about last time I was addressing you, were the traffic control devices which they're using. Apparently, on certain occasions, they have a large crowd of people that they need to actually use those devices to control their in and outflow of the vehicles in their parking lot, which now they have a parking lot, a paved parking lot, but that only holds about a dozen cars, if that, because of the way it was constructed and because of the way the church is currently using it. They've restricted it with various storage facilities and so on and so forth. So now they use the southerly side of the church lot, which had been a park-like type piece of property, grass and trees, a few trees, and was a nice attractive look to it that now has become their main parking lot. They'll put probably, I'm guessing a little bit, they'll probably put somewhere between 30 and 40 cars in that particular lot. Now, if they didn't have that lot, that would be a real problem for the residents on Gates Avenue because obviously those cars would be using it. I mean, the churchgoers would be using the street as a parking lot. Anyway, getting back to the traffic control devices, since their last, they call it a carnival, those devices have been left on the street for the last, I'd say, 4 to 5 weeks, unattended and unmolested, so to speak. And what's happened now is after all this time, they've been moved around. It's more like a bumper car type scenario out there with the control devices. They're using a very large barrel. And I understand there are issues with it, but they don't put them up and take them down. They just put them up and leave them there. And it doesn't, the appearance of it is, it doesn't lend itself to an attractive looking scenario. They have frontage on Gates Avenue that's approximately 400 feet in length. 300 feet of that frontage is coned off by these large traffic barrels, which probably are only needed to be standing there in that position just for a one day or just a few hours at a time. They don't need to be put there permanently to block off the access. Apparently that's what they're using it for, is to block off the access to the lot that they use, which is a grass area now. But that's, but anyway. That's our concerns with it. And I know the council president doesn't like me to make suggestions, but if I can come in through a side door on that, if I was part of the church maintenance operation there. I don't know exactly the chain of command at within the church, but I would make sure that the devices were put out at a time when they were needed and removed at a time the event has concluded itself, so that you don't have this appearance. Like I say, now it's really kind of ugly looking because they're all over the place, and that's what happens. But anyway, that's my final statements on that. But I also have another issue. I'm looking at the permit application. This one's blank. It's not the one that was filled out by the church. But I'm looking at it, and I come across a one-sentence paragraph which states...
30 seconds, sir.
Which states, I'm almost done.
30 seconds.
Which states restrictions on locations. No circus or carnival or similar public exhibit shall be permitted in a residential area other than in connection with a school function located on school grounds. Now, they've had these carnivals now at least 3 times, maybe 4 times since I've been there. Apparently, they've gotten permits each and every time, but I'm wondering, I'm looking at this, and there's no exceptions there. It's a I'm pretty sure it's a residential area, or zoned as a residential area. I don't know how that's getting through like that.
That's your time, Mr. York.
If there's
Thank
maybe the clerk can
I'll just have Mr.
open my
Criscuolo.
eyes.
Your time has expired, so I'll just have some reflection come from the dais. I'll begin with Business Administrator.
First of all, Lieutenant Gordon was made aware of the traffic devices in the roadway. Somebody from the traffic safety unit, I believe, was going to respond to the area and talk to the individuals there to get those devices, put up onto their property. So Lieutenant Gordon received a call from the Mayor of Mai's executive assistant, I believe was on Thursday, because she received a call from a member of your community, and a request was made to the East Brunswick Police Department Traffic Safety Unit to have an officer respond to the site and ask him to do so. Now, did that occur? I don't know at this point. They're an extremely busy unit. I'm sure it's on Lieutenant Gordon's list to go out there and speak to them.
I think that has occurred. I believe that a police officer did respond, but that was, I can't give you the exact time because I didn't make that observation. That was told to me by another resident, that a police officer was there.
So we just confirmed that an officer went out there. Now, if you're still saying that it's occurring, I will ask Mr. Kipp tomorrow to look into it. He's the Director of Planning and Engineering, and correspond with Mr. Kipp.
And our interaction with the church.
Okay.
Mr. Baker?
So if you think about our community, just about every church, synagogue, mosque, or temple is in a residential zone. They all have carnivals and events. They all have carnivals and events all the time. I don't remember the origin of why that statement is there, but I'm guessing the rest of the zoning ordinance would allow it for religious institutions in residential zones, because that's where all of them are located. Also, you have a federal act, the Religious Land Use and Institutionalized Persons Act, RLUIPA, which makes it very difficult for a municipality to regulate activities, land use activities on religious properties. So, but Jim, I will take a look at it.
Okay, my only comment to that is you have to be there to see the situation when they have these carnivals. It's not pretty. Not for the residents, anyway. It's pretty for the church. I mean, I'm sure they're getting a big turnout, and they're probably picking up parishioners and so on and so forth. but I think it's, well, I guess I'm out of my time to talk, but okay.
It's being looked into.
Okay.
There's no ifs, ands, or buts regarding.
All right, I was going to ask you that. I know you've been very busy with the 4th of July, celebrations and all, but I'm looking forward to getting some feedback as to, how we can deal with some of our issues.
Got it. Mayor?
Yeah, I've always been a believer, an old partner of mine told me a long time ago, that reasonable people under reasonable circumstances behave reasonably. I think that there's probably a opportunity for us maybe to intervene by having some leadership from the St. Mary's, St. Stephen's Church, and maybe some members of your community. And I think if we just sit down and hammer out what those issues are together, instead of coming here, coming there, then we got to call them. So it's so roundabout. I think that, again, reasonable people, they're not going away. Churches are inherently good uses, just like the Mr. Baker said. All of the churches and houses of worships in this town are in residential communities. So we have to learn how to get along together and figure out a way of solving these problems by face-to-face. I think if we could try to provide that opportunity for you as a community and for the members of the church, I think we will solve a lot of these problems without them having to come here. And we would be happy to help you with that.
Okay.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you for hearing me.
You're welcome, Mr. York. Anyone else from the public wishing to address the chair? Please, sir. Give us your name and spell it, sir.
It's Thomas, I-N-G-R-I-S-A-N-I, 58 Deerfield Road, East Brunswick. Question about the service area with the ice skating rink. Where's the machine rooms going to be? I don't think I saw it on the plans.
It's in the rear.
In the rear?
In the back section, closer to the woods where the Zamboni parking is.
And what size service you think you'll be needing for those 2 ice skating rinks?
For electric?
Yeah.
Multiple three-phase.
3-phase, 1 amps?
That our professionals would do. I did a rink in Old Bridge, that's all I can tell you.
So I filled the application out for the electric and gas. I don't remember offhand, but it is a lot of power.
It's a lot of power.
I know 52 years ago, I worked on an ice skating rink in Staten Island. It was 4,000 amps just for 1 ice skating rink. And
Things are much more efficient now than 50 years
well,
ago.
it could be 277 also. I'm just saying, but
220, 221, whatever it takes.
well,
I mean, we can't control that.
no, I understand. Okay, whatever. And what about the concession? They can all have separate meters on their property, or is it the township going to own everything? As far as the concession?
At the water park, the concessionaire actually pays us a fee to provide that particular service there. So there'll be a decision made whether we're going to do it in-house, which I don't think we should. We outsource the running of the concession, and we'll put it out to competitive bid. Under local public contract law, we have to put a bid package together and put an estimated amount of time and what activities there, and then the responsible bidders in that case are the highest responsive bidders, and they would get the concession, and they would pay us for that space, much like if you were renting a space at the mall or wherever else, Tom.
Otherwise, you need separate panels or separate meters?
Yeah, we're not going to,
Okay.
yeah.
All right, that's
I
it.
mean, we could put a watt meter on.
Yeah, it's simple.
You know, ideally, that concession is going to probably have its own panel anyway,
Right.
you know.
Okay, just thought. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Angronati. Anyone else wishing to address the chair? Seeing no one, we'll close the public portion. And move on to our consent agenda. Can I get a motion for Resolution 23-208 through Resolution 23-215, pending there's no separation?
Motion adopted.
Any second?
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Councilmember Hall?
Yes.
Councilman Wendell?
Yes.
Councilwoman Winston?
Yes.
Councilwoman Zambicki?
Yes.
And Council President McAvoy?
Yes.
Thank you.
And Township Clerk, please read ordinance 23-22.
A bond ordinance providing for various capital improvements in and by the Township of East Brunswick, County of Middlesex, State of New Jersey, appropriating $40,300,000, therefore, and authorizing the issuance of $40,300,000 in bonds or notes to finance various capital improvement projects.
We have a motion.
Move to adopt.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion? I think I want to read some of the research, if you don't mind, the research that I've done, which brings me to me making my decision. Our community instantaneously becomes a tourist attraction. Instantaneously. And what I mean by tourist attraction is that when these families take that hour-and-a-half trek down to East Brunswick, up to East Brunswick for hockey, they're going to spend some time in our community, and they're going to realize what a great community we have, and there might be some second thoughts about possibly moving into our community. We now are going to be able to offer all of our residents a unique and new recreational activity. I don't think I strapped on those boots since 1967, so I think it's going to be fun seeing Councilman McAvoy out there. The rink adds to a new profound family activity with many newfound social benefits. It becomes a location for our teenagers. Instead of coming across with this, oh, they're hanging out at the mall, and that's so old, it's beyond my understanding, but the teenagers who we so proudly admire in our community, it's going to be a new place for them to hang out or maybe even participate. With regard to figure skating, it encompasses all ages, lessons, and competition, and the same can be said for hockey. All ages, competition, and instruction. Summer camps that I mentioned before, research brought me to the fact that somewhere between 15 and 40% of revenue comes from those summer months when the various camps from Edison and Woodbridge and South Brunswick and Monroe all come to our cool place, which is my next number 8. We are going to become the coolest town in New Jersey. No play on words here either, right? It may be the coolest place in all of Middlesex County. And in the entire East Brunswick business community, especially Route 18, the restaurants, the shopping, the hotels, they will all benefit from these 2 sheets. So socialization on many levels, from kindergartners to grandma and grandpa, they'll strap on the skates. I can go on and on. You get my idea, and therefore I proudly vote yes on the matter. And a roll call.
Councilmember Hall?
Yes.
Councilman Wendell?
Yes.
Councilwoman Winston?
Yes.
Councilwoman Zambicki?
Yes.
And Council President McAvoy?
Yes.
Thank you.
Township Clerk, no, that's 23, 22. We're going to have a motion to adjourn?
I'll go to the clock.
Oh, go to the cause, yeah, that's right. Anything for the good of the cause? Councilwoman?
I just got
Yes.
one thing.
Councilman Wendell?
I'd like to just, again, recognize the East Brunswick Police Department and all the fine work they do. Over the past several weeks, they've had a couple of in-water rescues that they've attempted, and we've had, our officers jump in the water and, put themselves in harm's way to go out and help these residents, whether it's in Dallenbach's Lake or Farrington Lake or wherever it may be. So I just, want to recognize our PD and the men and women who are part of that do such a great job.
Thank you, Councilman Wendell. May I have a motion to adjourn?
So move.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Need a second.
We'll need a second. I thought I heard Councilman Behal got the second in there?
Yeah,
All
I
those
think
in
you got
favor?
it in right under the wire.
Good night, everyone.